Okay, thank you, everyone. So I will call the Monday, January 9th, 2023 meeting to order. Before approval of the agenda, I'd like to move the addition of an item, transportation options, contacting BC Bus North, BC Transit as 6.1. I'll make that motion. Seconder, Mayor Kukelka. Discussion on the addition of the item? All in favor? Opposed? None. Okay, so we'll move that as 6.1, and then we'll move the adjournment to 7. Okay, moving along to adoption of minutes, 3.1, December 12th, 2020. Excuse me, thank you. I'll move the approval of the agenda as amended. Motioner, Councillor Julik.
Recommendation that all items in the January 9th, 2023 Policies and Priority Committees meeting agenda be approved as modified.
As amended. Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Clickash. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Adoption of minutes. Mayor Kukelka. 3.1.
That all minutes of the December 12th, 2022 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be approved as presented.
Thank you, Mayor Kukelka. Seconder. Councillor Noxana. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Okay, presentations and delegations. We have from ARGO Road Maintenance of the South Peace Division, Norm Atkinson, Operation Manager, and Shelley Fulmes from Quality Assurance. Please, if you could join us at our delegations table and take it away.
So we don't really have any sort of presentation or anything for you guys. It was when we got the invitation, we were just going to come down and introduce ourselves. And if you guys have questions that we can try to answer, we'll do our best. If there's anything road maintenance wise you guys want to discuss. But yeah, we're happy to hear any questions or concerns that you guys may have. So, but just to give a little bit of history, ARGO has been here for the last about 3.5 years. We took over from CRS, and I've been the operations manager out of Dawson since then, and Shelley, of course, has been the quality assurance since then. Our general manager right now is Jeff Wills, who actually used to be a resident of Tumbler Ridge. Some may know him, I'm not sure. But he's also owner of ARGO Road Maintenance as well. So, and yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, let her fly.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I guess I'll open it up to council. Is there any questions or comments? I'll open it up to Mayor Kukelka.
Thank you very much, Chair. A couple of questions, and it's just come to light, and maybe you can fill us in. And that's in regards to the Flatbed River Bridge east of town.
Yes.
I've heard we've had some concerns where we're replacing boards and stuff like that, and my concern is, I guess, it's constantly we're replacing it, sound like, with the weight load going across there. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is there any way we can help? Like, obviously you're doing it, you're probably trying to baby fix it. Is there any way we can help you more with the ministry?
So I don't know if there's anything that for you guys to do with that. It is definitely on our radar for a total redeck. It has been beaten up fairly good over the years, especially with a lot of the logging in the last couple of years. There have been boards that need to be replaced. One of our concerns, actually, since we just found out that Quintet was bought, and so one of our concerns is that if I'm assuming it's planned to be reopened, which could mean there's a lot more truck traffic going over that bridge, and so it's definitely on our radar, and it is scheduled for a redeck. We may, depending on what happens with Quintet or what the timeline is for Quintet, we may bump that up sooner rather than later. The other concern is that with a lot more truck traffic, you know, is a redeck going to be enough, or is it going to need more structural work underneath? So.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Mayor Kukalka?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so they are planning on making it an active mine site. Canuma is the purchaser. Their thoughts were, sounds like maybe of October of 2023. So I don't know how soon they're looking at transporting equipment from Wolverine over. That'll come up next council meeting on an update to council. So yeah, you're going to see, obviously, all their equipment going to be moved by trucks. I'm not sure how they're doing, what their plans are with coal initially, but I mean, my understanding is they're going to try and get that plant operational under, you know, obviously repair it and get it up to 2023, I guess. But so there is going to be some heavy traffic out there. So if there's anything, if you guys are having concerns there and there's something you can do, just reach out to staff, and myself for sure fully support ARGO and helping you guys get what you need.
Awesome.
Okay, so I guess my other question, if I may, your chair, is mulching. So I know we met with the ministries at the UBCM. They did do some mulching on Highway 52 from Dawson just past the Brassy. Our goal is we asked for more. We did ask for it to be done all the way to Tumbler as it has been previously. Special project, I know we talked over coffee in regards to mulching, so I know I've met you a couple times. So I think we'll see hopefully a special project being approached to you guys, because we did ask for that for 2023 is the mulch.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just so you're aware.
No, that would be excellent. Yeah. Yeah, we're all for that. We don't see a downside by any means, and it's just a matter of getting some funding or approvals from Ministry of Transportation to get that ball rolling. So, yeah, the more people that poke them about that, the better.
We'll do our best to keep poking. Any follow-up there, Mayor Kukalka? Okay, thank you. I have myself, then Councillor Julik and Councillor Clickash. I had a question regarding your reporting phone-in service. Have you been, one of the things that I know I deal with from time to time is that people will try and forward their issues to myself, and I know that ARGO is very open and willing to take those comments, questions, concerns. Have you had success with that, or is there any way that we can help promote that more? I do see your regular Facebook posts, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is fair that for getting the information to us as quickly as possible, the 1-800 number is definitely the best route to go. We don't get a ton of calls from the Tumbler Ridge area, but we do definitely see some use there. You know, some of the calls that we might get a little bit more frequently is mainly from the loggers coming in on 52 East and then heading up 29 to CHEYWYND there. But yeah, there's not a lot of reaching out from the Tumbler Ridge community to us, but there is a few. So,
Gotcha.
And it works well. It gets to us pretty quickly.
Appreciate that. I've definitely used that service before, and I got patched right into the local supervisor. So, you know, definitely quick to get in there. So, thank you. So, I'll move on to Councillor Julik.
Hi. Ditto on the Facebook page and stuff. It's handy to go on there and see. And anytime I've posted or asked a question, there's been a pretty quick response. So I think you guys are doing great there and keeping up as good as you can with our weather, because you never know what that's going to bring and what time of the night it's going to bring and what kind of wonderful traffic you're going to get on that road. It's so narrow. One of the questions I have, and your staff here in town are always really great about it, but I guess I just thought if I could get some more ears to hear me, Canusa Falls Road in the winter, if we could get a berm as soon as there's enough snow, as far as you guys plow, to have a berm there. My friend, Councillor Noxana, and I have both been out there when people are stuck, and it's 1 year, even at the, I'd given the fella advice not to go out there, he did and got stuck and lost a toe or two. So if we can put the berm there, it hasn't been an ideal situation the last few winters. We just haven't had the snow, but I'm just hoping that that's not something you can't do, or if there's some way I can, as a private citizen, even make that happen or request it happen. I know BC Parks and stuff have talked as well. But anyways, I love the road work that you guys are doing. Like I say, the people that I reach out to in town before I was town councillor, because now I know it's a whole different dynamic, but they've always been great. And I appreciate you guys coming out here and listening to us.
Excellent. So as far as the berm goes, just so I'm clear, you're talking about across the road to stop people from going in there? Yeah, okay. I'll double check with Rob Dayton, the foreman here, and just see what, because I know we've done that, we have done that in the past. To stop people from going in there and getting themselves into trouble. I mean, the sledders are
That's
always
always
gonna
our
go in,
first
but,
mission is to get that pushed up as soon as
Yeah, the
possible.
snowmobilers go in.
Oh, can you put it on your mic?
The snowmobilers definitely go in there, and people will drive past where snowmobilers have unloaded. It's quite the sight to see. And then there's been breaking into vehicles and people staying in there and expecting a tow truck to come. So we always get a bit of a giggle. Oh, and I have cell service has been one of the other things. I'm like, no, you don't. You might want to look again. So yeah, it's more about just because I get that people are going to do what people are going to do, but if we can give that one more thing and save them some tows, and because there's a sign up there, so I get that part. But
yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I'll
We
talk
beefed
to,
up the signage last year, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we did. Yeah, either last year or the year before, but I'll talk to Rob and, yeah, I'll just make sure that, I mean, in the past, the Ministry of Transportation did not have any issues with having the berm across the road, so I'll just make sure that that's still the same case, and, we'll try and get something pushed up there as soon as we can.
perfect. And I know BC Parks would totally support that. I work for BC Parks in the summertime, so yeah. Thanks.
And just to add to that, Councillor Julik, when we met with the Ministry of Transportation, we asked about signs and more signage, but also, not everyone's looking at signs, right? So a berm would probably be
Yeah.
good deterrent. We'll move on to Councillor Clickash.
Hi, welcome. Around 45 clicks out going towards Dawson, just when you start getting the dips in the road,
Yes.
there's some really bad undulations there in those dips, and they're getting really dangerous. What's the plan to correct that?
So, at this point, there is no major plan for, as far as I know, for rehabilitation. They're not with us anyways.
Okay.
It is definitely, an issue, and I was mentioning that to Shelley when we came through, because, I know when we first came in, they were quite bad. And we did do some base repair there and some extra paving, but it's still moving. It's not to the degree that it was before, but it definitely has moved, and it is a bit of a concern there. And if you're not paying attention, it could definitely throw you a little bit. So, I mean, the best way I think to deal with that is we'll talk to the Ministry of Transportation and see if they have any plans. I would really like to see them finish the paving all the way to Tumbler on 52. They did do a bunch there, but and I'm not 100% sure if they had a long-term multi-year plan for finishing the paving on 52, but we can certainly ask them. And if they don't have something in the works there, if they did have a paving project plan there, then obviously the best course of action is to, before they get in there, to pave it, dig it up, and do a bunch of base repair. If they don't have any long-term plans for it, then we can certainly look at adding some of that into our quantified plan, our yearly plan, and see about whether we can fit base repair and paving in. I mean, a quick Band-Aid fix would be to pave it. We use Peters Brothers a fair bit if we had them come in and do a layer over top to try to smooth that out. But that's more of a Band-Aid fix. That's not a long-term solution. And we were hoping with the base repair that we did through that section there, our first year here, we were hoping that was gonna hold a little bit longer, but it seems that, and the stuff that we did repair, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same piece that's moving, or if it just, the problem just kind of migrated a little bit down the road and now that's moving. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something we need to look at. And you're right, it is getting to the point where if you're not paying attention, it'll throw your car around a little bit, so.
Yeah, well, if you were towing something, it could be really bad.
It could be, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, so.
Thanks.
if you ever need us to act as an advocate on your behalf, please let us know. I love writing letters, so, and we do get to meet with ministers once a year to help to discuss these things, so just let us know. Okay, I'll move back to Mayor.
Sorry, just one other thing
Yep.
on that too, if you don't mind. We are doing our, usually end of January, early February is when we do our yearly plan. And so all of our superintendents and foremans, we all get together in a room and we start looking across our whole contract area, the South Piece, as to, okay, what, and try to prioritize, come up with what needs to be done right away, what can wait and whatnot. So we'll definitely look at that in the section there, when we do our planning.
Thank you. So I have Mayor Kukalka next, and then Councillor Julik. Mayor Kukalka.
Thanks, Chair. So a couple things on that. Again, with the ministry, we met with at the UBCM. They totally understand that they need to get geotech in there. So not just there, but also when you just first turn on to Highway 52, I don't know if it's 500 yards up, it's starting to slough there, and they tried to patch that when they did the paving. So they're well aware that they need to get geotech along that highway in certain scenarios or certain areas. And I won't say it was a promise, but they definitely have it on their radar that they need to get geotech in first and start that process and that plan. Again, just like the chair has said, if you need us to advocate, let us know. And if you're having issues, like I know we met with them, definitely a concern on their side to make sure. We use the concept that is the watershed of Dawson Creek, up where it starts to slide off in the, we call it the roller coasters, or I do. That's Dawson Creek's watershed. So if we do have a tanker or anything that's coming up there does roll into that ditch, we did have one drive straight into the ditch, which good on him that he could keep it on all wheels, because that flows right directly into the Dawson Creek watershed. So that's what we used. That's, I believe when you guys first came on board, that's kind of why there was a patch due to the previous mayor, really pushing the watershed of Dawson Creek so something ever happens with all the diesel coming up and oil for the mine sites. So again, I think we need to push that directly from council side, again, stating how important that road is for our residents, but also in regards to making sure we don't jeopardize watersheds. So if we can help, let us know. The only other question I have at this point would be, have you had any conversations with the ministry in regards to the Murray Forest Service Road repairs? So I don't believe staff has a number yet from the UBCM. They did promise to get us the number that they were going to put into that road for 2023. Okay. But it sounded like it was going to be a substantial amount. But he didn't have the number in front of us, and he didn't want to just throw out the number. But they were supposed to be, adding more gravel to the base, ditching. There's a couple of items he talked about on regards to that Murray Forest Service Road.
Yeah, so we have not had any major discussions with the ministry about that road. Other than the last time, I mean, we meet with the local ministry area managers and their operations manager once a month. The last time we met, I did bring up the fact that the Quintet mine had been sold and was looking at being operational again. And again, one of the concerns was the flatbed bridge, but the other concern was that first few kilometers into the mine. And I think their actual haul road comes out further down the Murray Forest Service Road, not through the front gates there. So there is one culvert I have a little bit of concern about. It's not dire, but with a lot of extra traffic, it may be a bit of an issue. And it's right beside the mine there. I can't remember exactly what kilometer it's at, but if you go out there, there was a piece of pipe that, an extension that was pulled off. It didn't narrow the road up or anything like that, but it was a piece of pipe that was all rusted out sitting against the side of the road there. And so that pipe is a bit of a concern. And then even there's a spring in that road down by as you drop down to the bridge there, that's causes constant problems for us. And what the fix with that would be, I'm not 100% sure. But beyond that, there hasn't been any major discussions with the ministry about that road. So.
Thank you. Just one moment. I'm going to ask our interim CAO. We were reaching about 15 minutes for delegation. Do we need to make a motion to extend the delegation on PPCs? Okay, just checking that. I'll move on to Councillor Julik.
Yeah, that road, actually, I would say it's in the best shape. I've seen it for years. So I'm happy, and I've seen all the work that you guys have done. You know, we always are, I'm an armchair critic, as is my husband, because his dad's in the road building business, but it's in pretty good shape out there. And I would say one of the concerns once the mine does open up is the amount of traffic. Like, we've only seen numbers increase out there so far as people going out during the week and on the weekends for sure. My comment though, when I pushed my button was, before you guys did the work on the roller coasters, as Mayor Kakauka called them, I was working I was a contractor at the Monkman RV Park, and like Councillor Clickash said, it's when you're pulling something that they can get really dangerous. So what you guys had done at that point was put up some speed limit signs. And in those, like in the other spots that you guys might think, like there's the one real flat kind of spot, and then it gets, like if you get over to if I'm heading to Tumbler, I'm on the left hand, like I'm driving on the wrong side, which isn't ideal but anyways, my point being, when they're marked, I hope that people slow down, and it just gives, especially people from out of town, like for us, we kind of know where they are, but we got some people coming in the summer with some pretty big fifth wheels, and if they hit them at the 90 kilometers an hour, they're gonna do a little bit of damage, possibly. So yeah, if that's an option, I'd love to see that on the road just for our out of town folks.
Yeah, and you know, and that certainly is an option. I'd have to get approval from the ministry to do it, but I don't imagine there'd be any pushback from them. When we initially did the work and the road held for a little while, then that was when they initially said, okay, well, you know what, we can take those speed drop signs out now. Yeah, just coming in today or whatever, I would agree that it might not hurt if there's a drop to even 70 or something there, so.
Yeah, because they're gonna start moving again in the spring especially.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing, is that, whatever it looks like right now, chances are in the springtime, it's going to get a little bit worse, so. No, we'll bring that up with the ministry, you bet.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Is there any more questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate the update, and it's really appreciate every term or even once a year to come in and chat with us. I mean, take time out of your day, so thank you very much for coming in and keep up the great work. If you're not receiving a lot of complaints, obviously it's a good sign. You're doing a good job. So, because people will definitely let you know.
Yeah, they do. And actually, you know what? I just have one question too, in regards to talking about Quintet Mine and the equipment getting hauled in there and whatnot. Is there any any sort of newsletter or like email updates as far as Quintet's plans go? Like, is there a good, for us to kind of get in the loop as far as exactly what they're doing and what their timelines are? Is there any good avenue for that, or?
I'm going to hand this over to Mayor Kukalka, as he's our contact there. Mayor Kukalka?
Thanks, Chair. We'll get you in touch with them. I know they're going to be, my understanding, they're going to be reaching out to the ministry and obviously yourselves anyways.
Okay.
But maybe Ms. Torville can just send your information on to Kanima. And we do have another meeting coming up with them, but
Okay.
we'll get your information to them and maybe get them to contact you sooner than later, so that you're aware of what the plan is for them.
Sure, because now even for planning works out there for this summer or whatever, if we kind of have an idea as to what their plans are, that'll definitely help us, so.
Great, thank you.
For scheduling. Awesome.
Okay, well, thank you, friends.
Thank you very much.
Again, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move along to reports. So 5.1, CHEYWYND Forest Industries, a division of West Fraser Mills. We have information from Sean West, Planning Supervisor, West Fraser, January 2023 Forest Operating Plan. Would anyone like to move this for information or discussion? Councillor Julik?
The council receives this for information.
Seconder? Councillor Hoffman? Does anybody want to, before we vote, does anyone want to discuss this agenda item? We don't want to talk about forest plans? Okay. Councillor Clickash.
I think it's gonna take a little while just to decipher all this. I looked at it for 2 or 3 hours, and I want a little more time on it.
Fair. So just so everyone's aware, I did forward this along to our community forest manager. He received it a few weeks ago, so yeah, okay. We'll move for information. All in favor? Opposed? for information. Okay, moving along to 5.2, Correspondence Policy, TR 30 Review, or a report dated January 9th, 2023 from Interim CAO / Director of Corporate Services for Correspondence Policy, TR 30 for discussion. Who would like to move this for discussion and have the opportunity to speak first? Mayor Kukalka.
The council receives the recommended revisions to the District of Tunbridge Correspondence Policy TR 30 for discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mayor Kukalka, would you like to start us off?
Maybe staff can just give an update in regards to, I mean, I read through it and there were some changes because some of it is no longer being used or relevant within our policy, so maybe just an update from them.
Okay, I'll throw it to staff. Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. As you can tell by the current policy that we have, it was adopted in 2007. So it was time to to update the policy and to make it relevant for today. As well, the original correspondence policy TR 30 dealt mainly with mayor and council correspondence. But we've expanded the policy to incorporate some general practices for in-house as well as mayor and council correspondence when we get them in. When we get it in, we just like some guidelines or you know, a process to streamline that council would prefer to have. Sometimes we get correspondence coming in, and we will. I know previous councillors will note this. We'll put it on your, we'll copy them, put it on your wickets, and then also we include it on the agenda if it requires action or sometimes not. So this time we're suggesting that if correspondence comes in that requires action, then it would go on an agenda automatically. So yeah, so those are some of the changes. We've also included in the amended policy correspondence that, you know, when there's action required and it might involve sending a letter to someone or to some ministry or whatever, and to, you know, put it, to formalize how the letters will be not addressed, but signed by the mayor. So we've never done that before, so it was always sometimes, oh, you know, what do we do this? Whose signatory do we use? Do we use the mayor or do we use a corporate officer? Or who should be signing this one? So we just kind of put that in there for your consideration as well, just so that we're consistent with how we're handling the correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Torval. I did have a brief question, and it's on page 34 of our agendas, and it's under procedures, number 2. I see all correspondence is directed to Director of Corporate Services. I'm just curious why only the Director of Corporate Services and not our CAO, or, yeah, I'm just curious about that. You're still live, Ms. Corbell. I'll turn you back on. Here we go.
Sorry about that. The reason a corporate officer is the designated person is because the corporate officer is technically responsible for all records, correspondence coming into the corporation. And so if something were to come into the corporate officer, and if the CAO were deemed to, you know, needed to see this, then obviously, and that has been the practice, when the correspondence comes in, the CAO would be made aware as well, so.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Torval. I'll move to Councillor Julich. Councillor Julich?
I thought it was a really good, comprehensive job. Like, I thought you guys did a really good job. I thought a really good job was done on how it was put together. My question would be on correspondence addressed to Mayor and Council number 5, that Council may pass a resolution to cease receiving correspondence from specific sources. So I'm just wondering if, and this is just a question putting it out there, like I totally get where you're going with that. I just wonder if we need to be a little bit more clear. they can send the correspondence all they want, but we're not going to receive it on our agenda. Like, I just wondered about that, and that's just, you guys know better about wordsmithing or whatever. That was just something that popped out at me.
Sorry, Councillor Julik, what the question there was, what was the rationale behind that or the process behind it? I'm sorry. I'll throw it back to you. Yep.
It's about, I just wonder if the wording is clear enough. So council may pass a resolution to cease receiving correspondence from specific sources. My assumption would be that that is coming from, I don't know, it could be some kind of lobby group that we no longer want to hear from. But my point would be is, we can't really get so we don't accept the correspondence, but we can keep it from coming on our agenda. So I just wondered if we wanted to be a bit clearer in the policy.
I see what you're saying now. Thank you. Ms. Torval, do you have a response to that?
I'm already on, okay, yeah. Yeah, so it says that council may pass a resolution, like, if you see things coming through, I don't know, sometimes there's information that comes in and gets passed on to council that's really, I'll call it junk mail for lack of a better term. And you may be getting tired of receiving it because maybe some of it is 50 or 70 pages long, and each one of you, and you let's save some more trees and we'll pass a resolution. We don't want to receive any more of this type of correspondence. So, and you may never ever come across the situation where you would want to, but it's in there that you may, that opportunity is there. Like, how do we stop this from coming in or coming on our agenda? So you may pass a resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Torval. Did that, okay, thank you. Councillor Julik, I'll move to Mayor Kukalka. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I guess my question would be, should we have something here about anonymous letters? Oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware,
Well, I'd like to know what, okay, we won't receive it, but what is staff doing with it? That would be my question, like, when we receive anonymous stuff, what are we doing with it?
Ms. Torval?
It's being filed.
Filed.
Yes.
Thank you. I know that in my experience, I was told, yeah, council does not see anonymous letters, so. So I didn't have any more questions on the policy. Did anybody else have any input they wanted to add or ask some clarity on? Well written, no. Ms. Torval would like to speak again. Go ahead, Ms. Torval.
Yes, thank you, council. In further to that about the anonymous letters that come in, or it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, when it comes to the corporate officer, so when I receive something that isn't signed, no name to it, I will make the CAO aware of it, so it's not just myself making that decision. So there is accountability in case someone were to say to council, well, I sent a letter, or did you get that letter, or whatever, even though it isn't signed, like they might say, well, did you get that concern? Well, and then they might say, well, I sent a letter. Sometimes residents might sometimes just even forget to sign it, right? So there is accountability, so just so you're aware.
Thank you, Ms. Torval. I'll go back to Mayor Kukalka.
Thanks, Chair. So I guess my question would be, or my concern would be, if the letter is directed right to the mayor or council, and you open it and it's not signed, that means we don't get to see it?
Ms. Torval?
I'm just wondering if we need something else in there, because I'm just gonna leave this be for now.
Yeah. No.
Thank you. Ms. Torval, yeah?
If I can respond to that. If it's addressed to mayor or council, quite often the correspondence that we get is not usually generally addressed to mayor and council. Sometimes it's to District of Tumbler Ridge, or it's if it isn't signed at the bottom, it's very vague at the top. Just.
Thank you. Maybe to follow up on that, Mayor Kukalka, are you concerned about letters that have no sender on the bottom, or like they would have the sender but they don't sign it? Was your concern about the source of the information being anonymous, or them just not signing it? Just wanting a little bit of clarity. Maybe we can add to staff to the conversation. Mayor Kuchelka?
Yeah, I guess my concern would be when it's just anonymous, so it's just directed to directly to the mayor, a letter? Or maybe it's directed directly to mayor and council. And there is no signature on the front and there's no signature inside the letter.
Fair. I guess we'll just,
So, yeah, I'll take this later. Be a reason I ask.
a little bit of, thought to go into the change. Okay, well, I also have Councillor Hoffman, so I'll move to Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. Just maybe my ears were not fully grasping, but it sounded as if you're covering both roles as eyes on an item. Is there somebody else that is acting on the Director of Corporate Services role while you're CAO? If you're, what I heard, or what I thought I heard, is that you get this item in your primary role. It would be viewed by CAO in some context, you're viewing it, and then it gets filed. Would it make sense to have a second pair of eyes, or are we just not worried about this? Because you would have the second pair once the roles are separated again.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffman. Ms. Turville, do you have a response?
It hasn't happened since I've been in this role, so I guess I would deal with it at the time, but.
So it's
but-
that minor.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add or discuss? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, staff. It's great to see that we have a policy in place. I do love policies to outline how we're going to conduct ourselves. So, seeing no more discussion, we're going to move to 6.1, discussion on transportation options, i.e., reaching out to BC Bus North and BC Transit. I'll move that for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion, I'm moving it for discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so I'll start us off there, as this was something that I wanted to bring forward. I'm wanting staff to reach out to BC Bus North and BC Transit to begin the initial conversation about adding us to the BC Bus North program and look at what it would be to get an optional bus service to Tumble Ridge through BC Transit. So, yeah, I wanted to open discussion up, see what everyone thought about it. This was the quickest way for us to get some sort of movement. Okay, thank you. We have a Councillor Noxana first up. Thank you.
So I agree that we should absolutely reach out to them, but I feel like it should be more of a preliminary conversation. What would the cost be? What service model could they even do here before we reach out to residents to see how many would use it? Let's see if it's feasible.
Thank you, Councillor Noxana. That is my intention. Let's just start the initial conversation, and then we can sort of probe deeper on what that would look like. So I'm gonna move on to Councillor Julik.
I guess at this point, I'm just wondering, do we give staff a date about when we'd like to see it come back, or what's the next process? Because this would be a new process for me. I'm in total agreement to finding out cost to see if it's even something that's we're interested in moving forward on, but do we give a timeline at this point?
To be honest, I've never had that experience where we say we want to hear by X date. We sort of leave it in staff's hands and they manage it as they can. It's maybe a challenge to put a specific date, as they do have a lot of things on the go, and I don't know if I'd want to hamstring them, but yeah. I'll move on to Councillor Clickash.
Yes, just wondering how we're gonna solve the need. I mean, we don't even know how many people are gonna need this program. So don't we have to find out how many people want it and are gonna use it before we go out and mess around with all these other companies and find out, if you got 40 people that need it and the bus is gonna have 40 people on it, I'm sure the cost is gonna be different than if it has 3. So maybe we should find that out first.
Thank you, Councillor Clickash. Move to Councillor Hoffman and then Mayor Kuchelka.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we had this partial discussion before, and I think need is going to be a really tough thing to assess. Whatever you use, survey, word of mouth, whatever it is. And whatever the need is, it's not going to be the same every day of the week. It's not going to be the same every month. I think cost, what it would be to us, if we get a number that's just completely out of line with what we think is affordable, then this conversation's over and we don't need to go through this process. If you want talking about something like just putting it out there and seeing what sort of response we get, I think we can do that in tandem, that we don't have to do one and then the other. And without the information of just sort of what it would even cost, like, do we need to buy a bus if we're gonna do this? Like, if we don't have those sorts of things, I don't even want to put it out there and get people's thoughts and hopes on this service and what they think this service is going to look like and those sorts of things, because I just don't know. I just don't get it. I don't have a good feeling that this is going to be a quick solution to anything. This is a further down the line, maybe we can have this sort of thing around. And I think the first thing is, let's talk to the people that run these services and know what it will take to have this sort of thing around. Saying that we're gonna have a guy do 2 runs a day, twice a week, or 3 times a week, or 5 times a week, or just on week. Let's just put that all aside for now. Let's get an idea what it costs, because if the labor cost and the capital costs are just too high, this conversation's done. So I think the first step is talking to the people that know it to run. And I would be open to doing a parallel system of sort of getting an idea of usage if we want to do that. But if we want this to be, let's get it going. That's where I'm at right now with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffman. I have Mayor Kukalka, then myself. Thank you. Mayor Kukalka.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and I think you do. I think you got to do the initial stages. Just reach out to them, see what their thoughts are. I think you're seeing it more and more in rural BC. So whether it's the Peace region or down south, when you have communities separated by bigger cities, and that's where you need your healthcare and your dentist and all that. It is something that more and more communities are reaching out, trying to see how they can fit some kind of scenario in. Now, we talk about BC Bus North and BC Transit. Maybe there's other options out there. I think if you reach out and just kind of find out, like, they might say it's a no-go on their side for whatever reasons. Well, we get that information. It's something we can approach the Peace Regional District about as well. Because, they're definitely part of the region, and there's other communities that are seeing the same thing, trying to get people to those bigger centers for their medical or CAT scans or whatever. Not everybody drives. I think Tumbleridge is fairly different than some of the communities in our area, because we do have TR cares. We have great residents that also take other people in when they need to go in. But TR cares is also something that is being used, and I understand that they have time constraints and when they can leave town and when they have to be back. Their service is funded through Northern Health. So it doesn't mean that there's not another avenue there of looking to see if maybe that could be expanded somehow. Maybe they need to, maybe BC North or something comes back and says they're willing to supply a driver. I think it's worth reaching out anyways with the concept that you've brought forward.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. And so I'll have myself and Councillor Julik. My thought is, with the BC Bus North, at the very least, they're done by the province of British Columbia. We don't know. I don't know if they're in partnership with Canada. I don't know if they are a for-profit organization or what that could look like. That could just be we didn't know you guys wanted us there, so that's why I'd like to have that initial discussion, because that may not be a cost. That could be sure. And then with the other one, I just would like to try in that initial conversation, and then we can start canvassing the town. One thing though with surveys, it's there's an adage that I saw. Every survey, there was once a survey done on how many people love surveys. Turns out 100% of all people who responded to the survey love surveys. So just because we do a survey doesn't mean it's an accurate representation. I suspect we will need statistics, but at this time, let's start with the initial conversation. I'll move to Councillor Julik.
I would just wonder if staff is clear on what it is we want them to ask. For me, where I'm at with this is that we just want to ask them, I'm going to stop talking because I see Mayor Kukalka has something going on there, and which is fine. Mostly, I just want to make sure that we're clear with staff what it is that we want to ask.
Thank you, Councillor Julik. I'll move to Mayor Kukalka.
Yeah, I think we have to be clear. I think you're 100% right. We haven't put that, we put this out for discussion. There has to be a motion put on the floor that's very clear. Make sure staff understand that motion as well. I find that, I mean, it's our fault when it comes to some of the motions we put out there, and it's not clear, and then we get the information back and we blame, oh geez, you didn't get this, we needed that too. And so, whether, my understanding of bringing this to the PMP is get it out there, have a discussion around this table with council, put the ideas out of what we're looking for, what the information we kind of want when we ask staff to reach out to these organizations, to the government, and let them bring it back to a regular meeting with what we're looking for. And if we've missed something before we have the letter signed, we can add it then too as well. Hey, well, geez, I had time to think about we should add that. So I think you're 100% right asking that question. I think, see what council wants as a whole in regards to what kind of letter we want to send, what information council would like to come back. Is it a cost? If it is, what's the cost? Is it feasible for your company to do this or your business, whether it's not for profit or is it for profit? I don't even know that myself, to be honest with you. I just know my understanding is that group came in after Greyhound has left. Could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. That is my understanding as well. So I'll throw it at staff. To engage initial conversations with an organization, do you need some clarity from us, what we're looking for? I mean, from myself personally, I can make a motion. I'm just looking at, let's just start initial discussions about expanding service to here. I see Ms. Turville nodding her head, so I'll make a motion and we'll debate it after that. Motion for staff to start initial discussions with BC Bus North and BC Transit to discuss options about expanding services to Tumbler Ridge. It's good to say that slowly so they can somewhat capture it somewhat. Seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Thank you. We can. Okay, so we haven't had a seconder. We can make a friendly amendment to it before we move it. This is where it gets real fun. Councillor Hoffman.
Sorry for making it fun right off the bat, but I think the specific one is we should specify cost structure in there. That could be taken as service only, and I think cost structure needs to be front and center, whether that be in any aspect, whether it's capital costs or ongoing operational costs or labor or whatever. So if they say yes, then I think a little more direction might be clearer on, okay, are we talking about a weekly service? If it's a weekly service, this. If it's a bi-weekly, or whatever it comes down to. So I just would like to see the word cost somewhere in whatever we're asking for.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffman. Before I move to you, Mayor Kukalka, my only comment to that, and maybe I'm naive, but if we already throw cost structure out there in the initial conversation, do you think, am I naive to think that maybe we can get a cheaper option if we just don't bring up cost? Something to think about. I'll move to Mayor Kukalka.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's the initial, and you're just looking for background information to see if this is even something that they are interested in doing. So maybe you leave the cost out. and one thing I liked is that we didn't get a second. So if the motion needs to be changed, we're not doing amendments after this, and then we really don't know where we're at. One other thing I would suggest that we actually ask the PC Regional District for a letter of support. So we go forward with other multiple municipalities of support to get this information. Because then it can be shared through the PRRD and other groups too, because we're looking for expansion. And we're part of the PRRD, and to me, there's other municipalities that are looking for the same thing.
Fair enough. So are you suggesting that we start initial discussions and then as well as with the PRRD, or are you thinking something separate with this?
No, I think we just asked staff to reach out to PRRD to see if they would put on the table a letter of support. I mean, I'll put it out as a notice of motion at a PRRD meeting, but it looks good when it comes from this council asking also for a letter of support, not just coming from the mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. So before I move to Councillor Julik, I want to write this down so that we can capture it in a motion and talk to PRRD. Okay, about adding a letter of support. Okay, Councillor Julik, go ahead.
I guess in my mind, starting this and it for me, it would just be a phone call. Hey, our council has talked about, what can we do to get service here? Is this something that has ever, because BC Bus North, both of these institutions or businesses might just say no. Like, we've looked at that and we've already, you know what I mean? Like, so before we ask for the letter, to me, if they just come out with a hard no, then that's where we get a bit more involved. Like, for me, it's about that initial conversation to see, you know, maybe BC Bus North comes back and says, oh yeah, for sure, like, we could see what we could do there. And I agree with Councillor Norbury, and instead of waiting for, you know, you throw money out, who knows? But I just want to see, I think the original thought of mine was just to see if they were even interested. And then if they're interested, ask, okay, well, what will that entail? What do you need from us to try and make that happen? Like, to me, that's where I'm like, this feels like too much already. It just is a matter of let's phone, see if it's something they're even interested in, or even something possibly we can do. Like, what I know about BC Transit, I don't think that's even I don't even think there's a conversation started there. Just what my experience was when I was following the stuff within Dawson Creek, but possibly BC Bus North.
Thank you, Councillor Julich, and maybe I'm biased because I'm the one who made the motion, but, you know, I also think I did a pretty good job at encapsulating the beginning. Yeah, I let's say I'd like to agree with you in that. I apologize, Mayor Kukalka, but it seems like maybe we're putting the cart in front of the horse here about reaching out to the PRRD until we even know what response we get back. So I am going to just stick with the motion that I made and ask for a seconder. Councillor Luana, seconder. Okay, discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Dussault. I'll go back to Mayor Kukalka.
Can staff please read out the motion?
The motion is to have staff, I don't know if I read that or got that, captured that right. Staff to initial discussions with BC Bus North and BC Transit to discuss options for expanding to Tumbler Ridge.
The only thing that I would say there is about expanding services to Tumbler Ridge. But I think that encapsulates what I'm trying to go with. Is that sufficient for you, Mayor Kukalka? Councillor Dussault, is that the motion you believe that you were seconding? Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, staff. Any more discussion on the motion in front of us? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Well, thank you, Council, for hearing my concerns. Is there any more discussions on the discussion item? Mayor Kukalka? Okay. Seeing none, I'll move for adjournment. Mayor Kukalka.
The January 9th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder. Councillor Julich. All in favor? Opposed? Don't you dare. Carried.